That's the way you want to do it at home.
Looks good,
Just a
right?
great big poof.
I do not remember that type of impact in years past. This was a
borrow that sword for Hayden's third birthday.
I'm not sure the other parents want you to bring
that
out
at the birthday party.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get attendance next year if you do it for the third.
That's
My
right.
dad was in the Army Reserves for 20 years, served every 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks every summer. I remember him.
And I know he's
Wow.
watching. Thank you for your service, sir.
Yeah, God bless you, Dad.
All right. Meanwhile, she is working for the President of the United States in public service. She is the White House press secretary. She is Sarah Sanders, standing by live. Good morning to you.
She is very important. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you guys.
Well, you got a big guest today coming in, France's President Macron. Why is this allegiance so important to us?
Look, this is our country's oldest ally, and they've been a great partner. The president and President Macron have had a great relationship since the very beginning. We have a lot of things that we can work with. They're one of the biggest trading partners we have in Europe, and we're really excited about this visit. The First Lady has been incredible throughout this process. She's done this all on her own without bringing in an outside consultant, been very hands-on, and this is going to be a spectacular couple of days.
Well, Sarah, a couple of things. So one thing's pretty clear is that France and Germany desperately wants to stay in the Iranian deal. Has the president gone over the framework that would get him interested in staying in it?
Look, we certainly expect this to be a topic that comes up both at this visit over the next couple of days as well as the visit with Chancellor Merkel at the end of this week. But the president's been very clear about how he feels about this deal and some changes that he needs and wants to see reflected will certainly come up. I'm not going to get ahead of anything that the president may or may not commit to and what he'd want to see in that. But the president's been very clear about the dislike he has for this deal and how he wants to make sure that we get something better.
Well, when you look at what's happening in Syria, and we had help from the UK and from France, and you look what's happening in North Korea ahead of that summit that our president's going to meet with Kim Jong-un, it's very important that we have a Secretary of State. And Pompeo is the president's choice, and it looks like he's not going to be confirmed. What are your thoughts? What's your reaction? What's the president's reaction?
At least at a committee.
We certainly hope that some members will change their minds. Look, at some point, Democrats have to decide whether they love this country more than they hate this president. And they have to decide that they want to put the safety and the security and the diplomacy of our country ahead of their own political games. And we're very hopeful that they will. Mike Pompeo is a highly qualified individual, top of his class at Harvard, first in his class at West Point. He's been an impeccable CIA director. He's done a great job. He was confirmed there. And if you just look at history, the past Secretary of States have been confirmed unanimously.
Right.
And Republicans have come on board and supported Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, people we know who they didn't necessarily agree with on the political spectrum, but they knew how important this position was, and they didn't play games with it. And Democrats need to do the same thing with Mike Pompeo and confirm him. He's been one of the leading people when it comes to the negotiations and the conversations with North Korea.
Absolutely.
And to stop that would be incredibly dangerous and damaging for our country and for the world.
So are you predicting that he will pass out of committee or by the Senate as a general body?
Look, we'd love to see both. We know how good of a candidate and how highly qualified he is and what a great Secretary of State he's going to make. And we expect Democrats to get on board and focus on what's best for our country, not what's best for their midterm elections.
Sarah, it's not just Democrats. Rand Paul is causing this uproar. Senator Jeff Flake hasn't made up his mind. Rand Paul thinks he knows the president's foreign policy better than the president, and that this guy, Mike Pompeo, does not represent the president the way Rand Paul wants the president to be represented. What's your message to Rand Paul?
Look, Director Pompeo has spent hours upon hours with the president, briefing him on the most sensitive topics and information that our country has. They have a great chemistry. They are on the same page. Otherwise, the president wouldn't have put him in there. After spending so much time with him, he has a great in-depth knowledge of where they are, how they agree, and he wants to see Director Pompeo. And Rand Paul should have faith in the president's decision as a supporter of his, that he's making the right decision for our country, and he should certainly be supportive of what the president is trying to do and continue to be a good ally and partner with the administration.
All right. Let's talk a little bit. You were talking about Mike Pompeo and North Korea. Stories out today in the Wall Street Journal talking about how the president is not going to make the same mistake other administrations have made in the past. North Korea is not going to get anything until they, for the most part, really start down the path of pulling the plug on their nukes, right?
Look, that's certainly the focus of this conversation has to be denuclearization. That's the ultimate goal. We've been very clear about that from the beginning. This president, as well as every member of the administration, has made clear that that is the goal of any conversation is denuclearization. And until then, we're going to continue the maximum pressure campaign on North Korea.
Well, you thought it was very interesting. Today's New York Times says that China's been dealt out of this. So far, is there a sense that China's not playing a role? And if so, is that good or bad news?
China's played a big role in this process. They've been a good partner with the United States in helping put pressure on North Korea. That's helped get us to the point we are, where they're willing to sit down, where they've started to make concessions, where they've even started to do so publicly through their own state-owned media. We've seen that over the last week. These are big steps in the right direction. Don't get us wrong, we're not naive. We know we have a long way to go, but this is real progress, and China has certainly helped play a role in that. And that's largely all in part because of the relationship that the president has built with President Xi. Yeah. They disagree on a lot of things, trade in particular, but they have a good relationship, and the president has asked them to step up and to do more than we've ever seen them do in the past, and they've done that. They certainly could do a lot more than they have done, but we're appreciative of what they've done so far, and we hope that they'll continue to help us put pressure on North Korea and continue to help us be a partner in getting to that ultimate goal of denuclearizing the peninsula.
Has a date been set yet for that summit for our president to meet with North Korea's leader?
We don't have any specifics that we can announce right now, but we're certainly moving forward in those negotiations. And again, we feel like we've made great progress, particularly on the concessions that the North Koreans have started to make that we've seen over the last week and seen them do publicly now to their own through state media, which is a big deal in North Korea. Again, we're not naive to think that we don't have a long way to go in this process, but we're certainly moving forward and like the direction that we're headed.
Is that a mower in the background?
There is.
Okay.
There is. Look, we've got a state visit coming. We've got to get all hands on deck all the time. It's going to look perfect, and we've got to make sure that the lawn's ready to go.
All right. Sarah, thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. A Fox News alert, an urgent manhunt is